Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Osiris J. And listen, welcome to the Fire Your Boss podcast. Look, you might be saying, how come we have the basketball god behind us, right? And look, I don't say that lightly. I don't use God and in relationship to to folks like that. But Kevin Durant is really that special, where you can throw that hyperbole around, and not too many people will roast you for it, for saying it. But Kevin Durant just literally fired his boss, in the form of requesting a trade from the Brooklyn Nets, and the entire NBA world is sort of like in an uproar. The entire basketball world is in an uproar around what Kevin Durant is doing. And look, at the end of the day, um, in the word in the words of the great TBE, that's Floyd Money Mayweather, to those of you guys who don't know. Skills pay the bills, man. Skills pay the bills. And in this episode of the Fire Your Boss podcast, I want to talk about this, but I want to take it out of the realm of basketball, right? And this is not a sports podcast. Right. So you might be wondering to yourself, why am I even covering this? What's the relevance in all of this? So I want to explain that to you, right? Because I don't want you to get the sense that we're trying to be all over the place with the content that we drop on this podcast and on this channel. The fact of the matter is, Kevin Durant making a decision, right, to take his talents elsewhere, requesting a trade from the Brooklyn Nets to do that, right, is not a catastrophe as a lot of people are making it out to seem, right? There's 360 degrees. There's a whole host of ways that you guys can look at what's happening here, right? But I'm going to invite you to look at it from the most empowering place possible, right? And to do that, we have to put it in context, right? And I don't have Kevin Durant's stats in front of me, but I did earlier refer to him as a basketball guy, right? For those of you who don't follow basketball, Kevin Durant is otherworldly when it comes to playing basketball. Could literally do everything, right? He was drafted into the league by the Seattle Supersonics at the time. That team later I believe they moved to Oklahoma City, and they became the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know if it was defunct or whatever the case may be. I think they moved, right? And he came into the league, and from the very beginning, he showed um, a degree of a talent that was just unmatched at the time. One of his nickname is what is it? What did they call KD? I forget KD's nickname, and it's not that I don't like KD enough to remember his nickname. It's stupid. It's not even worth mentioning, right? They really should be calling him the unicorn, because at 7 feet, he handles the ball like he's a point guard. He shoots as well as any player in the history of the game. He shoots free throws off the chart. So his shooting percentage from the field is amazing. His 3-point percentage is amazing. His free throw percentage is amazing, and he plays both ways. Right? Kevin Durant is supremely skilled, right? And so throughout the course of this podcast, I am consistently saying that you have to go to work at making yourself a person of value in your life and to the marketplace. You got to make yourself a person of value in your life and to the market and in the marketplace. And when you make yourself a person of value in your life and in the marketplace, then you can do things like what we just saw, what we see Kevin Durant doing. You can write your own ticket. You can decide that you want to pick up and you want to take your talents elsewhere, because where you are right now just isn't working for whatever reason. You don't want to blame anybody, right? The fact of the matter is, when Kevin Durant came in, was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, there was a lot of fanfare. It's Brooklyn. Brooklyn, stand up. If you've ever lived in Brooklyn, if you've ever been to Brooklyn, right? And feel the authenticity and the culture of New York City and I mean of Brooklyn in particular in New York, right? There's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it, right? You got to love Brooklyn. And so to see Kevin Durant show up to win a championship, right? Everybody was all in on that, right? And the fact of the matter is COVID and the pandemic has ruined a lot of that. Like, I mean, people like to assign blame and point the finger and say, well, it's Kyrie and it's this person. No, no, no. Just put it, just dead that. Leave that foolishness to Stephen A. Smith, right? You know, leave all that drama to Stephen A. At the end of the day, like no one could have predicted that New York City would have been one of maybe one or two other cities that would have a mandate like they had in place because of the pandemic. And as a result of that, Kyrie's decision not to get you know, not to do not to go along with what everybody else decided to do ended up impacting the Nets. But to say that everything that happened was because of Kyrie and to lay that at his feet is just patently unfair, and it's just not true. And this is not about what Kyrie did or what he didn't do. The fact of the matter is the relationship didn't work in Brooklyn. It didn't work for a variety of different reasons. And Kevin Durant is so skilled. He's made himself such a person of value in the marketplace and in his life that he's now deciding to take his talent and take it elsewhere, right? And you have to tip your hat to Kevin Durant when it comes to that, for making that choice for himself and for, you know, for deciding that he's going to go chase a championship wherever he decides to go to chase that championship. Kudos to Kevin Durant for making that decision and for deciding to go win a championship on his next journey. Now, guys, I want you guys to stay tuned because this is part one, right? And in part two of the video, in part two of this series, because this is going to drag out for, you know, for some time, right? He just made the announcement, right? And what's going to happen is there's going to be a whole bunch of conversation around where he's going to go, right? And I want to cover it, but I want to cover it from the perspective of he is firing the Nets. The Nets aren't firing him, right? And the reason why that's relevant is the fact that there are a lot of people who have decided to participate in the big quit. A lot of people all the world over has decided to kind of like quit their jobs and decided, and some of them are going back into the workforce, and some of them are looking to create a high-paying job for themselves. So they've literally fired their boss, just like Kevin Durant is doing. Right, you know, and the picture behind me is he's looking up and he's giving thanks. Right, he you know, see, I wanted to use this particular image because it implies that he knows that there's something bigger than him. Right, he's serving something, and because of that, his blessing, his talents, his ability to perfect himself, to practice, to become the best version of himself, gives him a leverage that we all want. This is the leverage that we all want, right? And so when you hear anyone, whether it's a sportscaster or anyone, I'm talking about these guys in a derogatory or a disempowering way. Let's just use that word, disempowering way, right? I want you guys to understand that what's important here is what they're representing and how you can see yourself in them. Like, my goal is to really crush it in, you know, in my business and really crush it with this podcast, right? That's my goal. If I could be half as good at this as Kevin Durant is at basketball, you know, that would be accomplishing something. Right. So when I see KD playing, I can't even begin to imagine the number of hours, the amount of time, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into making himself the type of player that he is. Right. I can't imagine that. Right. So I'm saying to you guys, look at this as something that's great, that's positive, that's really about empowering people. Kevin Durant is empowered to make decisions that are consistent with what he wants for himself and the legacy that he's looking to build. But what I'm trying to communicate to you guys out there, if you're one of those persons, or let's say you're an entrepreneur right now, and you know, you are growing a business and you're struggling, you find yourself behind on your sales and the revenues that you're trying to earn in your business, right? You're going to have to go out there and get better. You're going to have to go out there and get more imaginative and more creative in terms of how you're looking at your business and how you're looking to deliver products and service into the marketplace. In a marketplace right now that's under duress, whether it's from recession, reeling from you know, stalled COVID recovery, or the threat of war, or what's happening in the energy market with oil. There's a whole host of things going on right now that can have you scared shitless, concerned about what it is that you're going to do next. How is it that you're going to do it? But what I want you guys to focus on and to zero in on is the fact that when you make yourself a person of value in the marketplace, when you are absolutely skilled and talented at what it is that you do, and you're willing to perfect yourself, then you can call the shots. Right? I believe Kevin Durant is making anywhere from 36 to $40 million a year right now, somewhere in that vicinity, right? Don't quote me on that. He's just coming off of winning, coming off of a major career-ending injury, where most people, that would have been it. But he comes back and he's averaging 27 points for his team. He's leading his team to the playoffs. Right. And this year they got swept because they just didn't have the pieces, they didn't have the continuity, and they didn't have the type of leadership, you know, in the organization. And I think from the bench that a great player like KD would need to win a championship, they didn't have the pieces, guys. So KD deciding to fire his boss is exactly what this podcast is about. It's not allowing himself to be limited. It's not allowing his potential and his legacy to be stalled, right, by an organization or by or anyone in that organization that's relating to Kevin's future in a way that's inconsistent with how Kevin sees himself. So he has to move on. Right. And so stay tuned, because we want to continue to talk about this from the perspective of what it is that you have to do for yourself and your life to make sure that you can perfect yourself. Because if you're one of those people who participate in the Great Resignation and the Big Quit, and you've quit your job and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do next, maybe you're going to consult, maybe you're going to start up, you're going to become a solopreneur, or you're going to start up a small business, or you're going to look to land the job of your dreams. You know, wherever you find yourself on that spectrum, or you're a small business and you're trying to grow your business, right? We have to take a look at the lesson here that that Kevin is putting down for us. We have to pick that up. We have to pick that up in the sense that this is about talent. This is about your ability to be the best in the world of what it is that you do and to serve the market. That's why he's able to make this call, right? And what you're seeing, if you're a sports fan, the entire NBA world is going to move mountains. Every team in the league, every superstar in the league, maybe outside of Steph Curry, or even LeBron James, or maybe LeBron James. What would that be like? What would that be like? You know, big up to LeBron James. I love me some LeBron James. Right. But Kevin Durant is my favorite player. And LeBron, if you ever see this, you know, I love KD, man. I just love the way he plays in terms of his skill set. Doesn't mean that I don't love and appreciate you. And I have so much respect for you and the work that you do, and just your ability to dominate for as long as you have. But we're talking about KD. I'll make another video about LeBron some other time when he's ready to fire his boss. Right. So guys, this is what it's about. It's about being so good, right, that you're able to write your own ticket to wherever it is that you want to go. You know, this podcast is fairly a new podcast, and I'm trying to you know, to be true to myself, you know, on this platform. I don't want to come on this platform and I don't want to pretend. I don't want to, you know, say a bunch of things and you know, address a bunch of topics that have nothing to do with what the goal for this podcast is, and that goal is to just touch and inspire as many people as we can, to let you know that no matter what it is, whether it's a physical boss, whether it's a way of being, whether it's a way of thinking, and acting, no matter what circumstance you're dealing with in your life that's limiting you and that's blocking you from becoming the best version of yourself, you have to fire it. And we want you to kind of like take a look at what Kevin Durant is doing. Look at him trust himself. Look at him trust in the power of the Almighty, right? Look where he's putting his faith and where he's putting his money. He's betting on himself, guys. He's not leaving it up to somebody else. No one is coming to save us. So he's looking to save himself, and he's looking to save his career. Now, a lot of pundits, Stephen A. Smith, did I say Stephen A. Smith? I probably did. If I did, it's Stephen A. Smith. What does the A in Stephen A. Smith stand for? Right. So a lot of pundits and people like Stephen A. Smith, they're going to take this and they're going to find a way to create a negative spin on this. They're going to tell you how Kevin Durant is erratic. They're going to say, well, why did he leave Golden State, a team that where he had just won 2 championships and was on his way to a 3rd championship before he tore his Achilles, right? They're going to say he's stupid. But Kevin Durant and what most of the teams in the NBA and players in the NBA understand right now. And guys, just give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. What they understand is that I was running out of power, so I wanted to make sure that we didn't lose power. As I share with you what those players and what the league understand, that this is a star-driven league. This is a talent-driven league. If you are a talented superstar, right, you get to have it your way. But talented superstars, there are a dime a dozen, like the real ones, like someone at the level of a Kevin Durant. This is someone who, who's done the work. And I want to say to you guys, what are you guys doing right now? Are you guys so focused on what's happening in the marketplace in terms of the things that you can't control in the marketplace? Are you more focused on those things rather than being focused on becoming the best version of yourself or becoming best in class in your sector, right? And what I was saying before I broke away earlier was that, I'm really looking to grow this podcast. I am. And guys, if you guys, if you're new to the podcast, you see anything, you hear anything, that you think that could make a difference for yourself, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, and go ahead and share this with your friends, because that's how we can really grow this Fire Your Boss movement and make the channel grow. But the point that I'm trying to make is that Kevin Durant's talent is what's speaking here. Kevin Durant's faith in himself and in his God is what's really on display. Right, his ability to understand that that's what makes the difference, and so he doesn't have to be in a situation that doesn't fit him, that's not going to give him the things that he wants. Or maybe, because we really don't know what happened in Brooklyn. Maybe Kevin Durant was told something in their negotiations that didn't happen, and Kevin Durant is saying to himself, hey, I don't want to build here because your word has to be your bond in business, right? So again, don't really know what happened, but I wanted to do this quick episode just to share with you guys that we're going to be covering this, because this is about just improving yourself and improving your business and improving your situation. This is Osiris J, and it's always a pleasure and a privilege to have you guys check out this podcast. And I will see you in the next episode. Peace.